something. I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for 305 Sports Now. I am your host, Will, and we are now on 305 Live. Okay, so I'm waiting for our special guest to set us things up, and we're bring on immediately. I just want to go over a little bit what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about pretty much the Miami Heat, Pat Riley, the whole situation again with Jimmy Butler since the Golden State Warriors were eliminated in the playoffs, all right, in the playoffs in general by Minnesota. We also going to see exactly how people feel about the whole situation. Was Pat Riley right? Is pretty much what I'm going to ask. And of course, we'll talk about like what the heck the Miami Dolphins are doing because of the fact that now, after all that's gone on, the one guy that made the Pro Bowl for their football team is being rumored to be traded and being on the trading block. So that's pretty much what's going on right now with the football team. And that's where we're at right here today. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so I want to first and foremost thank all of you that have decided to come on and watch tonight. Very happy that you guys are on. And I just want to say a few things beginning about the whole Jimmy Butler situation and that Jimmy Butler, in general, I do believe Pat Riley was vindicated throughout this process. Why is that? Because, again, you got to show me he didn't play the entire season. He missed out. He wasn't given his contract extension. And, you know, Pat Riley's old school. When you listen, man, when you're in Heat culture, it's his way or the highway. It's pretty much what it is. All right. It's his way or the highway. That's how it goes. That's how it's always going to be. Jimmy didn't like that. Jimmy got a little bit upset about that. And he acted the way he did. Okay. He's done this in every single team that he's been on. Okay. He did it with the Chicago Bulls. He did it, with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He also did it with the Philadelphia 76ers as well. And now he did it with the Miami Heat. Now let's see what happens now with the Golden State Warriors as well. Let's take some water. Guys, feel free to enter the comment section. Feel free to I'll address any comment you want, questions, things you want to say. You can let off your chest. I know the NBA Finals are tonight. I know there's multiple shows going on. I know the FTC and FTSN network is banging tonight. Okay, with the East Century Hialeah boys, of course, and also their Canes, where a podcast as well is also up and running as well. Flo's got his thing going. So it's a very busy Thursday night here on YouTube for pretty much a lot of local content creation, etc. So I just want to give you guys a bit of what's going on throughout the process. I want to also mention that tomorrow at 7 p.m. as well, just to make that announcement while we wait for our guest, at 7 p.m. I will be coming on once again with Adrian of the Rainy Day Podcast, okay? And we'll be discussing game one of what was the wild overtime finale between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, how pretty much the game was ended by Leon Draisaitl, and how game two is going to be a very pivotal game for the Panthers as they try to get the split on the road against the Edmonton Oilers before they play here at Sunrise, which is going to be scheduled at Monday night as well. Interesting enough, all games are on TNT and Max, etc. Right? So, folks, okay, so our guest has just hopped on. He is a very, very, very familiar face here on this channel, right, as well. And he received a wonderful surprise, okay, just recently at WQAM, as he is now the co-host of the now Hawkman, Crowder, and Solana show on WQAM. He is also Miami Heat Radio Network pregame and postgame host as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this man needs no introduction, Mr. Alejandro Solana. Hold on, let me get on. There we go. How you doing, Alejandro? How's everything going?
What's up, Will? Good, man. Thank you for bringing me on.
Thank you for coming on, man. I NBA Finals are your big basketball fan, like I am. So I appreciate you coming on and chatting it up a little bit.
I'm sick of sports right now. I haven't even turned on the finals because I was watching Uruguay in the World Cup qualifiers. They lost to Paraguay, and I'm done. I'm done right now. So I'll tune over to OKC at halftime.
What are you rooting for? Actually, do you have a winner you're picking or
no? I bet OKC to win in 5. So that's my bet. I took OKC to win in 5 at plus 250. So that's what I'm riding with. No disrespect to the Pacers, hell of a run, but yeah, I just think OKC is the best team by far.
Yeah, you're not the only one. We had our end of the year function because it was officially the last day of school for the students, and the teachers were discussing that the ones that like sports, they were saying the same thing that they wouldn't be surprised if Indiana got swept. I think OKC is just overall better. So I mean, that's so you saying 5, my colleagues even some of you were saying 4. So that's gonna be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, man? Like, I didn't think the Pacers would get past the second round. I didn't think the Pacers, certainly not the Cavs. I honestly didn't really expect them to beat the Knicks either. And here they are in the NBA Finals. So who knows? Like, maybe Rick Carlisle and Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam can pull it off, but I doubt it. I doubt it.
I completely agree with you. But so I want to ask you, before we get into today's topics, they surprised you. How did you feel about becoming the third name in the title of what was formerly the Hawkman and Crowder show? Now it's Hawkman, Crowder, and Solana.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream, honestly. Like, it still hasn't sat in, or it hasn't, I guess I haven't processed it. But yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, we've done a couple pods, so you know my history. But basically, like, born and raised here in South Florida, and the only reason why I'm doing sports radio is because my brother would pick me up. My older brother Danny, who I know has been on the podcast as well, would pick me up from either middle school or high school, and he would be listening to Dan Le Batard. And then if he took me to school in the mornings, he'd be listening to George Sedano when Sedano went over to QAM. And I was like the only kid in either middle school or even in my high school that I knew of that was listening to sports talk radio. It's just not something that like younger kids listen to, right? Everybody's listening to Y100 or Power 96. And I dream, like, from that young age, I'm like, I love George Sedano. Dan Le Batard, to me, Stu Gatz, Mark Hochman, like I idolize those people, So the idea now that on WQAM, which is a heritage station in South Florida, my name gets to be on a show, to me is like, it doesn't, it's surreal. It doesn't seem real. Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly humbling, and it's effing awesome. I'm not gonna lie, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let you know that you do have a fan club amongst WQAM listeners. I was telling our lieutenant, big shout out to Lisa Espinosa, who's retiring as a teacher, was a full-time firefighter as well, retired from the fire department as well in Hialeah. He's like, you have Solana on? Oh my God, that's awesome, and so on. And my buddy George, he's a big fan of yours as well, so it's well deserved, man. You do have people that do like how you contribute to the show, like your commentary, like the work you put in as well. We all know that you're one of the hardest working guys in the radio biz. So congratulations on becoming the third name in the Hawkman, Crowder, and now Solana trio of WQAM Sports Talk Radio.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, I hope I have some fans. I mean, that's that's the goal. That's the goal for sure.
No, absolutely, man, absolutely. So I want to get your take on this. I don't want to beat the Jimmy Butler thing so badly. We need to go over the history of it. I wanted a little bit before you came on, but what I want to discuss is a lot of the fan base was really hot on Riley, especially after the trade, and now, especially when the Heat got pretty much pummeled by Cleveland in the first round, that maybe it's time for him to step away, or maybe he should have, more advisors, and he takes more of like a figurehead role. My dog is walking under my microphone. Hopefully he doesn't pull a cord and mess it up again like he always does. We'll see. Hopefully it didn't happen good. But Mike has had a bad habit of turning off every single time my dog walks under me. So it's one of those things. So I just go blank. I'm sure Fauci is giving you some fun stories while you're on the air.
Yeah.
But anyways, that being said, a little sidebar there. That being said, I'm going to run some numbers because I think Mr. Riley might have been a little bit vindicated. After Steph Curry's injury, in Game 2, Jimmy Butler had 17 points. His best game was Game 3 with 33. Okay, a pretty solid night. He was still under 50% that night shooting. Game 4, 14, and Game 5, 17. So playoff Jimmy was a Heat thing, and obviously Jimmy's getting a little bit older, right, as well. Does this vindicate Pat Riley and why he didn't give him the 2-year extension that he initially wanted?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Does that specific series, do those numbers that you just said, do those vindicate Pat Riley? I mean, I guess you could argue it for sure. Would the Heat this year, the way that they lost to Cleveland, right? I mean, the most lopsided playoff series ever. if Jimmy Butler, an engaged Jimmy Butler, we're talking Jimmy Butler prior to his fallout with the Heat. I point back to a 4-game stretch in the regular season. The Miami Heat won 4 consecutive games. They beat the LA Lakers, blew them out. Remember, that was LeBron. Everybody was questioning whether or not he was washed, and he hadn't hit a 3 in like 3 weeks, something like that. They come to Miami. This is early November, I believe, or maybe early December, and they kick the Lakers' ass. And Jimmy Butler played great in that game. The Heat, as a team, played great in that game. Then they had a stretch. That was like a Wednesday. Saturday, Sunday, they played Phoenix at home. And then the Cleveland Cavaliers, best team, even at that point in the NBA. Remember, they won their first, I don't know how many games, but when they came to Miami, they had 3 losses, I believe, to that point. Maybe 2 losses. Like, they were legitimately at that point already in their stride. The Heat beat the Suns, and then second night of a back-to-back, beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. 3 straight wins, and they beat Detroit at home a couple days later. Go back and look at those numbers, and Jimmy Butler played outstanding basketball. He was locked the F in. And after that Detroit game, that's when everything kind of changed. I don't know what happened. We don't know behind the scenes what happened, whether it was a conversation about him getting paid, whether or not Jimmy Butler approached this season as, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to play hard, and eventually they're going to pay me because they owe it to me, and I'll have that conversation with them, and they're going to see that I'm playing hard, and they're going to pay me. And what followed was that game against OKC, where he comes out, seems like nothing happened, but he rolled his ankle, and then he had a stomach ache, and then we don't see him again for like a week, and then he comes out and he half-asses it. That was round 1 of the suspension. So after that 4-game stretch, you hadn't engaged Jimmy Butler. If you had that guy, what's the difference in that Cleveland series? And my answer would be not much based on the Jimmy Butler we saw with Golden State. Unfortunately, playoff Jimmy, the guy we saw in 2023, carry this organization through the playoffs and into the finals. The guy we saw hunched over the scorers table in the NBA bubble. This guy who was capable with, despite perhaps a limited roster around him, some would argue, despite himself having a limited, abilities in terms of what you believe a superstar is, he was a superstar in the playoffs. And I just don't think he's that guy anymore. And I think he's telling you he's not that guy anymore. He's the one who gets to Golden State and is saying, hey, I'm the perfect Robin. He's the one telling you, I just get me a Batman. I can be Robin, no problem. So even, in a sense, he's acknowledging, I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy who can carry a team anymore. And he's right, by the way. There's no shame in that. But does it vindicate Pat Riley? I don't know. I mean, you could argue it does. I think 2 years from now, when Jimmy Butler is making $50 million with the Golden State Warriors, you're going to be looking at the production, regular season, especially if you're a Heat fan, and you're going to say, ooh, thank God we didn't pay Jimmy Butler, because it just wasn't smart from a basketball perspective. It wouldn't have made sense. As much as I love Jimmy Butler, as much as Heat fans cherish these past couple of years, this 5-year era of Jimmy. I go to bat for this era. And the fact that the Heat were able to put together this team when they had Hassan Whiteside on a ridiculous contract, James Johnson, Dion Waiters, and they turned that into Jimmy Butler for 1 first-round pick and Josh Richardson, and it resulted in 3 trips to the conference finals, 1 shot away from 3 NBA finals, but 2 Eastern Conference championships. I mean, there's something to celebrate about that, even though it doesn't result in what is the ultimate goal and should be the standard of the organization, don't get me wrong, in lifting a Larry O'Brien trophy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think also one of the biggest things, the way he handled it, the whole thing of like not being the huddle with his team.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of turned up.
At that point, when Jimmy Butler came out, I don't remember what game it was, but when he came out, maybe it was Indiana, and he stood in the corner, like it was obvious to anybody. The first game he was suspended, it was obvious to anybody that watched that game because you've seen Jimmy Butler not engaged in games before throughout the course of his tenure in Miami, where it's not that he wasn't trying, but it was like, yeah, I'll be facilitator tonight. I'm not interested in getting to the rim. My body might be a little achy. Like I'm not putting up, he's putting up 2 field goal attempts in the first half. Like you've seen that Jimmy Butler before, but you never saw him just camp out in the corner. You just didn't. It was obvious to anybody who watches Heat basketball what he was doing. And then after he comes back and he does the exact same thing, and he makes those comments about, the system, and if they want Tyler and Bam to be the scorer, like he's throwing Eric Spoelstra under the bus. And to me, like that's where it crossed the line, where I say, hey man, you want to go get paid? God bless you. I totally understand it. I would do the exact same thing if I'm in that situation where I want to get paid. I'm trying to force my way out of here. I'm making a stink. I respect that. Genuinely, I do. But don't start throwing Coach Spo under the bus and the system, because at the end of the day, Jimmy Butler fits in any system. You're looking at a Golden State Warriors team. Their entire system is predicated on ball movement and off the ball movement. It's not exactly conducive to how Jimmy Butler plays, but he's so talented, and he's great at being able to change the way he plays to fit other systems. He's very good. He's a smart, high IQ basketball player. Eric Spoelstra put the ball in his hands and he passed it. He just wasn't interested in playing with the Miami Heat anymore. And then to blame it on Coach Spo and the system, I just thought it was Bush League. It was. At the end of the day, like, you don't want to play with the Heat? Don't play with the Heat. But don't throw the coaching staff under the bus.
Yeah. The thing is that with Miami, you know where you're getting. And I had a conversation with a buddy of mine who's a Knicks fan on the pod, and he said that he called the Heat organization tumultuous. And I'm like, well, hold on. I would say tumultuous. I would say order. And there's a structure, starting from Mickey Arison all the way down to Coach Spo, that you're gonna play hard. You're gonna keep a certain body fat percentage, and you're gonna give it your all. You're gonna win games. And you're gonna play defense. Those are all things that you expect when you come into the Miami Heat. There's no, hey, I don't know, I don't expect this. There's nothing like that with this ball club. You know exactly what you're getting with Miami. That's why everyone thought originally Jimmy Butler fit in with Miami, because some of the complaints that Jimmy even had before he got to Miami is that the coaches were too soft on him. He was with soft players, so that gives an organization that doesn't like that, doesn't believe in that like hard-nosed guys. He fits in well. He doesn't like it because what it seemed to be a monetary issue between him and coach and the team in general, and he pulls a stink. So those are things that I think, like, at the end of the day, kind of created the major rift between him and the team. He seems to do this everywhere he goes, though. Like, it seems like everywhere he goes, when things don't go his way, he tends to pout. He did it in Chicago. He did it in Minnesota. He did it in Philly, and now he did it here.
Yeah, so, I really think the Jimmy Butler thing in Miami just comes down to money. That's it. It's really that simple, in my opinion. I mean, we could talk about whatever we want to talk about, him and Pat Riley and the butting of heads, and whether or not the structure of the Heat organization, like this idea, because you saw a lot of it after the Heat got rocked by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. Saw a lot of it. Gilbert Arenas and Kendrick Perkins telling Stephen A. Smith, I think, saying Pat Riley should retire, and that Heat culture isn't a thing anymore. And like, that's fine. People can have those opinions. But at the end of the day, like, Jimmy Butler came here and was viewed as what? A B-level player in the NBA, like a really good two-way guy, but never did anybody think he could be the best player on a team that could contend. And it was Heat culture. If you don't want to credit the culture, fine. But like, it was the stability of the Heat. It was the fact that the Heat, as a franchise, have that stability. They're able to bring in somebody like Jimmy Butler, who perhaps is tumultuous and who perhaps is this mega aggressive, in your face star or personality, and he could thrive here. So Jimmy Butler had his best era as a basketball player, the best production he had as a professional athlete, the best results were here in this system that, in my opinion, brings the best out of guys like that. And at the end of the day, none of that led to the downfall of Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. The one thing that led to the downfall of Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat was that he wants to get paid. And that's okay. Like, again, I think it's fine that Jimmy Butler didn't want to be here anymore because the Heat didn't want to pay him. I don't blame a basketball player for saying, "Oh, you don't want to pay me anymore? All right, well then trade me." I don't blame somebody for doing that. But and there's definitely some blame that should be thrown at Pat Riley and at Andy Ellisberg, whoever's calling the shots, Andy Stein, whoever, right? For not having the foresight of, this situation is going to get ugly. Because I think what the Heat did was entering this season, they said, Jimmy Butler is cool with what Pat Riley said. Don't worry about it. He's going to play hard because it's a contract year. And Jimmy Butler was like, oh, okay, watch this. Like they should have known. They should have gotten out in front of this situation and either traded him and had the conversations in the offseason and traded him and just gotten it over. Or they should have been working towards a trade at the deadline so that both parties were kind of working in concert with one another, and they didn't.
Yeah. Well, we have a question here from actually a fan of yours from your days with a big O. Okay, this is my buddy George. He's a colleague of mine. He goes by Teacher Craft. And he says, Butler's elevated playoff performance were his most notable thing about him for me. He be okay during the season, but he only turned his game on during the playoffs. Correct. So
yeah.
So thank you, George. So what do you have to say?
I mean that's I think one of the biggest issues with the Heat and Jimmy Butler, which is why Pat Riley challenged him specifically in last year's offseason, which was, hey, like, we need you. He said the same thing to Tyler Hero. Like, we need you out in the court. And look, what the Heat did in 2023 was fun and it was awesome. But wouldn't you rather be in the situation you were in 2022 where you're the 1 seed, right? Like, you can't be a playing team battling for a playoff spot year after year after year. And the reason you're in that spot is because your best player only wants to play 60 games a year. It's not a process that is conducive to winning. It's just not. You could argue last year, not this season, but the previous season, Jimmy Butler's still on the team. The Heat are in the play-in tournament. Again, they're the 7 seed. They have to go up to Philadelphia and they have to play the 76ers. And it's very possible that if Jimmy Butler doesn't get hurt in that game, I think it was Kelly Oubre who sprained his MCL. If Jimmy Butler doesn't get hurt in that game, he was playing outstanding. They probably win that game. And they're the 7 seed, and I think they end up playing the Knicks in the first round. There's a very good chance they beat the New York Knicks last year in the first round of the playoffs, and then who knows what happens. I'm not saying they beat Boston last year. I'm not saying there's another magical run, but you're entering this season without the Pat Riley post-game press conference where he's calling Jimmy Butler out. Like, who knows what happens? But guess what? Why were they in that situation? Why were they a play-in tournament team? At the end of the day, yes, the team didn't improve greatly, and they lost some core pieces after the finals run, for sure. But also, it's because their best players didn't play. Tyler Hero missed half the season, and Jimmy Butler played his usual, 63, 64 games? I mean, just think about it. They were 3 games out of being a 3 seed in the East. And your best player, plural players, are missing 10-plus games, 12-plus games, 20 games in the season. I mean, there you go. Think about it. It's easy math. Like, the Heat weren't a great team, but they weren't a 7 seed either. And ultimately, they're in that spot, and they have to play an extra game, and Jimmy Butler gets hurt in that extra game. I understand the frustration from the franchise where they're saying, yeah, this isn't us. Like, we're a play-in tournament team. No, we're not a play-in tournament team.
Yeah, especially this season where they had, like, I think it was 16 fourth quarter leads. They blew, some of them being double digits.
Yeah,
that didn't help either.
This year is
it was just a flat out disaster all around. Yeah. Especially this season. But now Jimmy's gone. Transitioning now to the next question. There's been rumors about the Miami Heat and Kevin Durant. That's been kind of like the talk online and so on. It's been talked about even during the season or during the playoff run. What have you been hearing about that? Do the Heat have the pieces that Phoenix may want, for the trade, or do they have to look elsewhere, like maybe a Trae Young over in Atlanta?
Yeah, so the Durant thing is interesting because what is Phoenix going to want from not just the Heat, from anybody, right? Like what is it that they're going to want? Phoenix, Phoenix isn't. I was reading the other day in ESPN, just a sidetrack here for a second. Phoenix is in this interesting situation where they have 3 superstars. One of them, and Kevin Durant, is certainly no longer at his peak anymore, right? Like we would agree. KD he's still a superstar in name, but in terms of talent, can he be the best player on a championship team and lead them game after game after game? I would argue no. I would argue, look at how the debacle of Phoenix. You would just have to say no. Like he's not capable of doing that anymore. Bradley Beal at one point was like maybe a superstar, but certainly a star. But can he be the best player on a championship team? Probably not. And then you have Devin Booker, who I think is like getting into his prime right now. But he can probably be the best player on a championship team. He can't be like the best player and then he has nobody else. And I mean, look, it was proven right now where he has Durant and Beal and they couldn't make it work. Does Phoenix just say, bleep it? Hey, Dallas, here's Devin Booker and 3 first-round picks. Like we'll take a Cooper Flag from you. I don't know. Like there's just some interesting. They're in this interesting situation where they can just do a full reset and stockpile picks and try to do what Oklahoma City did. So I don't know. Like this idea that Phoenix is just going to be okay with moving Kevin Durant and they're going to take less back. Like maybe Phoenix is thinking, no, we want to do a full reset. We want as many first round picks as we can possibly get. We want as many young players, as many young assets as we can possibly get. Because if that's the case, then I don't know if Miami's in a good situation to go get Kevin Durant. If Phoenix is in more of a, no, we still want to win now. We still have Devin Booker. We have Bradley Beal. KD will move him. Then I think Miami would be in a better situation to go get him, just depending on the market. And you're seeing guys like Brian Geltzeiler, who's he works for SiriusXM NBA Radio, and he was on the Zach Gelb show the other day on Infinity Sports Network, and he was saying he thinks Kevin Durant's going to be in Miami, and he thinks the asking price around the league has gone down for KD, just based on the fact that KD probably has a list of teams he wants to go to and a list of destinations, and the fact that Kevin Durant's just not, the bona fide number one scorer, number one player on a title team anymore. So look, it just depends. What would I prefer Kevin Durant on this team? Yes. The question to me is, the answer for me is a simple yes. The Heat need scoring, and at this point, you need something different. You just do. And is Kevin Durant the answer? Does Kevin Durant make you a title contender? Probably not. There's going to have to be other moves made, but for the next year, for the next 2 years, maybe, I will take Kevin Durant. He's a scorer. He can get you points. He doesn't have to be the leader if you can keep him, Tyler, and Bam. My answer would be yes, absolutely. But again, what is it going to cost you? I don't know. Is it going to cost you multiple first-round picks? Is it going to cost you, some of your younger assets? Probably. And are you willing to give up a Khalil Ware and 2 first-round picks for Kevin Durant? That's tough. That's very tough. I don't know if the Heat. I don't know if the Heat would do that. I really don't.
The thing with KD is like it's some of those games where they blew the season in the fourth quarter. You kind of needed the guy to stop the bleeding, with his scoring, and he just didn't have that. That's why even though we have Tyler Hero, but they need another guy, and I think KD could be that guy. One of the arguments, I think it was Stephen A. Smith, I can't remember, made is that with the Eastern Conference being considered the weaker conference than the West, that KD would thrive a little bit more because there's less talent that he would have to deal with, if you play for the Heat, then let's say you play for Phoenix or somewhere out west.
If I'm anybody right now, I'm saying I want to go to the Eastern Conference. Look, like no disrespect to the Pacers. They might be winning right now. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
But the Pacers just won the East. Like, look how wide open the Eastern Conference is. The Heat went to the finals 2 times in the East with Jimmy Butler as their best player. As good as Boston has been, they've been beatable. And Jason Tatum's probably out for the entire year next year. So the East, to me, continues to remain wide open. I mean, the best teams in the East are the Cavs. I mean, who knows what they're going to do? And they've proven they can't get past the second round anyways. The Indiana Pacers, the New York Knicks, who just fired their head coach. And then the Pistons are up and coming for sure. The Hawks, who knows what they're going to do? Like, they're young. They're trying to go through a youth movement. The Heat right now are trying to actively get better, but there's no guarantee. Like, really, you look at the East and you're saying, yeah, I mean, if I'm KD, if I'm anybody, if I'm Giannis, I want to stay out here in the East. Why would I want to go out West where I've got to go through a gauntlet every series to get out of that Western Conference? But just to go back to KD, you're saying, the Heat struggled against Cleveland. I'm with you. One thing that Cavs series taught me was that Tyler Hero can be the best scorer on your team, but he can't be the only scorer on your team. And I'm not saying he can be the best player. He can't. But I'm talking about just pure scorer. I think he can be, but he can't be the only scorer. And that's the problem that the Heat faced against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tyler, when the Heat needed buckets late in the season, he would deliver. But the Cavs just schemed him out of the Heat offense. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, I mean, that's going to happen in the course of a playoff series and throughout the course of an NBA regular season, right? Teams are going to say, hey, they're running this action to get Tyler Hero open, but let's send 2 bodies over here. Let's make sure that even if the Iverson screen comes, like we're just hedging. Like, there's certain ways to get around Tyler being able to go and score. Well, then that's when, an Andrew Wiggins would have to go one-on-one against somebody, go get us a bucket. There would have to be that pick and roll with Davion and Bam that would have to continue to produce points. And that's what's going to open up opportunities for Tyler again, because the Cavs can't keep committing so many bodies over to Tyler. And he had no answers, 0 answers. So that had to be extremely eye-opening for this Heat organization, which is like, hey, Tyler's an elite scorer. He can score at all 3 levels. There's no doubt about it. And great, he was an all-star. But then what? Because once teams focus on him to get him out of the offense, then what? And the Heat literally had no options. They were hoping that Bam and Davion themselves could carry this Heat team, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I'm glad this year we're not running it back. That's for sure. I mean, that's
well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't think the Heat want to run it back, but like again, I want Heat fans, Will, you especially, to not alter, but to temper expectations.
Okay. The
idea that Giannis Antetokounmpo or Kevin Durant are option 1 and option 2, or A1 and AB, or 1A, 1B, excuse me. Like, Heat fans, relax, because it's not, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It's very possible that Kevin Durant tells the Phoenix Suns, I want to go to Miami. It's possible. Maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo is saying, I want to go play in Miami. But if that's not the case, if those guys aren't specifically telling their organizations that they want to be in Miami, I'm not certain that the Miami Heat have the assets available to them right now, as we're talking today on June 5th, to go get either of these guys. And it's not that the Heat don't have good assets. It's not that the Heat don't have the capital necessary to go make moves. It's that there's other organizations in the NBA that probably have more. So if it's just going to come down to the Suns saying, hey, what can you give me? I don't know if the Heat have the best package available when you look at other teams around the NBA. I don't see it. So do the Heat want to run it back? Pat Riley was very clear. No, they want to improve their roster. at this moment, that as we're talking, are they going to be able to improve their roster substantially with one of these whales? They want to. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, they have to do something. I mean, that's one thing we could all agree with. And so to make this roster at least better, I mean, they can't come back with the same pieces. I mean, that's the one thing. Unless they figure out how to close out the fourth quarter and end up a third or fourth seed, which they could have been if they would have closed out the fourth quarter. But they can't come back with the same group of guys. They just can't.
Well, I mean, they can't. They don't want to, and none of us want them to, right? But would you rather the Heat? And I'm not saying that I'm okay with them running it back. I mean, Will, I gotta do what, 7 preseason games, then 82 regular season games, and then likely 2 play-in tournament games again with this same roster next year. Like, I'm like, oh no, I don't. You know what I mean? So trust me, as somebody who has to stay at the arena till midnight talking about this, while you guys get to turn it off on FanDuel Sports Network Sun and just tuck yourselves into bed. I'm talking into the ether on AM radio about the Heat losing a regular season game in February at home to the Charlotte Hornets after they had a 17-point lead. Like, trust me, I don't want them to run it back. But if the options are mortgage your future, negatively set your franchise up in the future, immediate future, I'm talking 2 years from now, 2026, 2027, to maybe have a 5 seed next season, a 4 seed next season. I like, just to avoid running it back this year because the fan base is going to get mad. You know, that's something to think about. Does Kevin Durant make you a title contender? Tyler Hero, Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo. Does that make you a title contender? And if your answer is yes, then what are you giving up for him? And you know, how long is Durant here for? I don't know. Just things I think are worth thinking about, because I don't know if KD makes you a title contender. I don't know. I think he makes you better. But what are you giving up to get for him? 2 first-round picks? Like, it's tough. It's a tough. I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make the decision. It's a tough conversation and approach that the Heat are in right now. It just is.
Well, we all agree it's going to be an interesting offseason, that's for sure, and we'll see exactly what the Heat do this offseason to improve the roster. So let's see. Luke from Dade. Yes, Solana, you and Tommy Tag deserve way better than another play-in season. Big shout out to Luke from Dade and his SoFlo podcast with his wife, the 305 Sports Babe. All right, just please subscribe to their show. Great content.
Oh, didn't they that he's engaged to 305 Sports Babe? Didn't he propose?
They got married,
to her?
actually.
Oh, they got married?
Yeah, they got married.
He proposed to her at I saw this at the Dolphins game, right? Like at Hard Rock Stadium.
Oh my gosh, I gotta look back. I think so.
Lou, did you propose at Hard Rock Stadium?
Yeah, Louis, answer that question for us, man. Inquiring minds want to know. We don't remember.
in the rain. Did I see that video? I think that was you guys. Maybe it wasn't. If it wasn't, congrats anyways.
Yeah. They got married. Very nice. But they've been on the pod as well. Okay, so again, it's gonna be a very interesting offseason. But before we get to the Miami Dolphins, I have to first of all mention our brand new sponsor, okay, Fan Outfitters, as this episode is brought to you by Fan Outfitters with locations. 1 second about that. There we go. My computer just glitched on me. Brought to you by locations in Pembroke Pines, Davie, and Kendall. You can find the latest gear and accessories for all your favorite sports teams, like your Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami, and many other teams. If you're ever in the Pembroke Pines, Davie, and Kendall area, please stop by Fan Outfitters, the sponsor of 305 Sports Now. And Lou just gave us an answer. And yes, the Tennessee game. We'll always remember the Titans.
I remember that. I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw that, and I'm like, oh man, I think it's pouring right now. And their engagement in the rain, like it's low key kind of perfect, except for the fact that then the Dolphins blew the game. So yeah, sorry, Lou, but congratulations, man. That's effing awesome.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough loss, man. But congratulations to, of course, Lou and Ashley. for the proposal that they end their marriage, right? As well. Now, speaking of the Dolphins, thank you so much for the segue, sir. Speaking of the Dolphins, okay, Jonnu Smith, the only Pro Bowler the Miami Dolphins have, and now there's rumors that they're probably going to trade him because he wants a restructuring of his contract to make a little bit more money. This is a franchise that really frustrates the fan base because they seem to always take steps backwards within their organization. What's your thoughts on the whole Jonnu Smith situation, and what can the Dolphins do to remedy it?
All right, so here's my initial thought. I'm an FIU Panther. All right, so I'm biased here. Jonnu Smith, FIU legend, pause up. And I look at the Dolphins tight end room, and I see Julian Hill. I see Pharaoh Brown. I see Tanner Connor, and I think I'm forgetting one other name. But that would be our tight end room if Jonnu Smith were traded and you didn't bring in another tight end. And I know there's a couple other tight ends right now that are free agents that the Dolphins would be able to go sign. And certainly there are tight ends that they could trade for as well. But I'm looking at Julian Hill, I'm looking at Pharaoh Brown, I'm looking at Tanner Connor, and I'm saying that's an effing nightmare, man. That is an effing nightmare. So I think the Dolphins, if the decision is pay Jonnu or trade him, I think you pay him. But I can also see it, and I hate taking both sides here. Sorry for straddling the fence. But I can see it from the Dolphins standpoint, which is, and this is what we've been talking about on the show. Last year, Tyreek Hill had an awesome year. Okay, they paid Tyreek last offseason, right? Jalen Waddle, they paid Jalen. They're 2-star wide receivers. They paid Jalen Ramsey, their best defensive player. And then they paid their quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. So everybody who had a great season, they rewarded them. And the Dolphins kind of set this precedent where, yeah, don't worry, if you have a good season, we're going to take care of you financially. But it kind of put them in a bad spot financially. And is that the precedent that they want to continue to hold? And Jonnu Smith is saying, hey, you guys suck last year. I was your only bright spot offensively. I set records, historic records for your organization at this position. You need to pay me. And I understand the Dolphins saying, nope, we're not doing this anymore. We're actually trying to handle ourselves differently moving forward. And we're not just succumbing to financial demands from players who had good seasons just because you had a good season. It's not the way we're doing business anymore. And if that's the case, I tip my hat to Chris Grier for the first time maybe ever, and the Miami Dolphins for saying, no, we're not just paying guys because, they had one good season. Like, it's just, it's not beneficial to us financially to do that. But I think if you're the Dolphins, you have to do right by Jonnu, because if not, your options are bleak at the tight end position. But I again, I can see and understand the alternative, the other side, which is the Dolphins saying, we can't do that anymore. That's not the way we're running our business anymore.
Do you know exactly what number he wants? Because I know he wants to stay here. Is he asking for an extreme pay raise, or is it something minimal that maybe they could work around, restructure a little bit, or they can make it more incentive based? That could be an option for the team. Anything you've heard? And I know Drew Rosenhaus, I think his agent has a big mouth. So anything in particular, or?
So I haven't heard a specific number, but I will tell you. Hold on, give me 1 second. I actually was looking at this the other day. Jonnu Smith, entering this season, is one of the lowest paid tight ends in the NFL. Okay. So like I get it. I totally understand it. Hold on 1 second. Jonnu Smith, let's see. We'll do 2025.
I think it was number 32.
Right.
In the NFL.
Right. So, I mean, he's got to say, hey, I want to be higher than 32. Yeah. Right? 32nd in the NFL. And that's not per year, by the way. That's just like total contract. Mm-hmm. So he signed a 2-year, $8.4 million deal. So he makes like whatever, half of that, for almost $5 million or $4 million a year. But you're looking at 30 other tight ends who make more than him annually. So I get it, man. But you're gonna give Jonnu $50 million. That's tough. I don't think you can if you're the Miami Dolphins. I just don't think you can do that.
No, I agree with you, especially with the salary cap. It's gonna be very difficult as well. One of the biggest problems the Miami Dolphins have is that they just don't sign their young guys, and they always have to depend on free agency, which has always been a problem with the franchise. I would say the last 20 years, and now we're seeing it again because they set a bad precedent. Now you're in a difficult bind as well, as now your tight end, who's going to be Pro Bowler, wants a pay bump even though he's under contract. So I mean, the Dolphins are another team that are on a difficult bind. As well. You think they get it resolved though, or do you think they end up trading Jonnu? Because I know Pittsburgh's dying to get him.
Well, according to like the latest reports from I think it was Adam Schefter, Pittsburgh has actually shifted gears and
Okay,
they're
good.
no longer going after Jonnu Smith. So I still think there would be teams around the NFL at this stage that could use Jonnu Smith again. I mean, if we're being 100% honest, he was really the only bright spot consistently for the Dolphins last year after like week 6. I mean, he was the Dolphins' only bright spot week in, week out on the offensive side of the football. So I'm sure if the Dolphins can really were shopping him, they would be able to move Jonnu for sure if they really wanted to. Now, what they would get for Jonnu Smith, I don't know. And I'm not opposed to the Dolphins, paying him a little bit more money. I think the contract that he's making right now, so you have it right here, actually. He's making $4.6 million. So, I mean, could they maybe find a couple more million to pay him after they trade Jalen Ramsey? For sure. There's going to be cap space that opens up. But, man, Will, I saw Omar Kelly tweet this out a couple days ago. Omar said, if Patrick Paul goes down, he tears his ACL, and knock on wood, right? Patrick Paul goes down and he gets hurt week 1 of training camp. Like, your season's done. You don't have a backup tackle. You don't have a backup left tackle. They still have to figure out on the interior of that line exactly how that's going to look. Because, man, if I have to go another season hoping that Liam Eichenberg can hold down that offensive line, I'm going to pull my hair out. And then defensively, I mean, you're looking at our DBs, the cornerback room, especially without Jalen Ramsey. That might be the weakest cornerback unit in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then just in general, your entire secondary you're banking on a couple of guys having career years. And it's not a wise approach in a season that in all of our eyes, you want to talk about the Heat needing to change up their roster going into next season. In all of our eyes down here in South Florida, this is it for Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel. This one right now. And maybe it's not, because Stephen Ross just doesn't like hiring or firing people, and he'll bring them back next year no matter what. But damn, man, like you're going into this season and like that's your secondary, so the Dolphins need that cap space. They have to go sign some more free agents. They have to go get some more veterans to try to help them shore up some of these holes, especially on the defensive side. I don't know if they can afford to just pay Jonnu Smith what he wants.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, unless he's asking for reasonable restructuring. But I agree with you. But like I said, the Dolphins put themselves in this hole, yet again, and it's a structural issue in the front office with Miami that they just they get rid of somebody and they just create another hole for themselves. So if they get rid of John Smith, you have another hole at tight end. They get rid of Jalen Ramsey, you have another hole at corner, right, as well. Because Storm Duck is going to be your best corner next season. You're looking at that. So I'm joking, obviously, but yeah, it's going to be pretty tragic for Miami as far as cornerbacks go. So that's where Miami's at, man. And I just it's just so frustrating as a fan base seeing this. You the last time you won a playoffs was Lamar Smith's 200-yard game against Indianapolis. It's just tiring, and there's teams that just seem to get better through proper leadership in the front office, like the Lions, the Chiefs, the Eagles. I mean, those are teams, and in some cases the Bengals. They get better, and Miami always seems to regress one way or the other. So it's just frustrating as a fan base, to see that over and over again, over and over again. So that's just, that's my take.
Nah, I'm with you. You're man, you're speaking to the choir, man. I just turned 31 the other day. I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Think about that. I was 5 years old the last time the Dolphins won that playoff game you're talking about. I was 5 years old the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game. I'm 31.
JB from the back of the podcast. That's when the Super Bowl was Nixon. Was the Nixon administration. Freaking Watergate. What's
Crazy,
going on?
Man. Yeah.
At the time? Yeah, man. Good job, JB. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to the back of the podcast. JB does great work. Brings on great guests, NFL legends on a regular basis. So subscribe to his show as well. And of course, the SoFlo Sports with your 5 Sports are going to do from date. Solana, where can we find you, sir? Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, man. Alex M. Solana, but listen to the Hochman, Crowder, and Solana show 2 to 6 on WQAM. Today we spent a lot of time talking nonsense. That's what we do every day. So I can't promise you're gonna be a smarter sports fan, but you will laugh. So yeah.
Well, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, please tune in to Hochman Solana. I'm sorry. Hochman, Crowder, and Solana from 3 to 6 on WQAM, or you can listen to the Odyssey app as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like this episode, if you like what you heard, if you like this live showing, don't forget, as I mentioned earlier, I will be on tomorrow again for a Florida Panthers pregame with my guest Adrian of the Rainy Day Podcast live yet again, 7 p.m. We're going to go all the way to the beginning of the game of the Stanley Cup Finals as Game 2, as we'll break down Game 1. And then we'll talk about what we think should happen in Game 2. Don't let Connor McDavid move. That's one thing I will say.
Are you nervous? Are you nervous?
I am actually. I am. That team scares me. They've scared me since last year, even up 3-0. It seems to me that whenever I see them skate or play, it's like Edmonton's ice is 50 feet wider than what the Panthers have. Like it's the puck movement, the skating, the smooth, how smooth the offense is as well, and their defense is pretty solid as well. So yeah, man, I am nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think they could pull it off. They should have won last night, honestly. And I think Edmonton gave them everything that they could that game, and the Panthers really didn't play their best. And I said it in the second period and towards the end of the overtime. But I am nervous, man. I think Edmonton is really good and they're hungry.
Man, I just hope we win Game 2, because if not, I'll be real nervous, man. Down 0-2, coming back to South Florida, like it's not where you want to be. So yeah.
Toronto reminds me a little bit of Edmonton, just upon they have really good skaters and a pretty solid offense. So I think that was a good test for the Panthers to go 7 with them. But Edmonton, man, Connor McDavid's on a different level. That guy's
that guy's stupid, man. He's stupid good. Yeah,
he's a freak. I'm like, the Panthers could get him on the team, they'll win the Stanley Cup 5 years straight. Yeah, I was proud of Benny, man. Benny was trying to win that game last night and go home. I mean, he was the aggressor towards the end of the third. Are you nervous though?
Yeah. I'm very nervous. No, I mean, Connor McDavid is stupid good. Bro, Sam Bennett has 11 playoff goals, by the way, or 12.
Yeah,
did he scored 2 last night? He scored 2, right? Night. Bro,
yes, he scored 2.
You know how crazy that is? 12 goals in the postseason. Like that is, he's gonna get paid too, man. Yeah. He's gonna get paid. Yeah, but I am very nervous. Yeah, I mean, like I think Game 2 is the most important game of that series. I really do, because if Edmonton's up 2-0, I'm not saying the Cats can't come back, hold home ice, like they can, but just something tells me Edmonton wins Game 2, and it's bad news for the Cats.
Yeah, that's why I want to Game 1 so badly, just to get that out of the way. I'm picking. I wish you would have swept, but I picked it to go 7. Every single poll I saw on X, I picked it to go 7, just because I'm realistic. That's a very good team, and they scored at will against Dallas. Yeah, and Dallas is a big, strong, physical team. So I mean, that's and again, last year they won 3 straight to make it a Game 7. So I am concerned about that team, but I was hoping to take Game 1. It's much easier going home. Tied at 1. They being down 2-0, and so hopefully they can win tomorrow night. But again, man, what's your take though? I mean, I basically said smother Connor McDavid, and another one is smash Evan Kane across the boards a few times. What do you think the Panthers need to do?
No, I just think they need to play their game. They got away from the forecheck, especially in the third period. They got away from the forecheck. It almost, I can't remember, and I wish I did, so I could give them credit. But I saw an analyst say that, it seemed like the Panthers were trying with the lead. They're up 3-1. They're trying to play to not give the lead away rather than just play their game and continue playing that aggressive forechecking hockey. And I know it's easier said than done. You're playing against Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Like, those guys are genuinely very, very good. But man, last year in the first 3 games, Barkov, for the most part, they're able to neutralize Connor McDavid, and Draisaitl was an effing ghost in those first 3 games. So I think the Panthers have that in them. I think that they can neutralize even the best players on the ice, but they have to play their style. They got away from that yesterday, and then in the overtime, it looked like a different team. It just didn't look like the Panthers. So I really think that changes in game 2 because they're just too talented and too deep to play 2 bad games back to back in the postseason.
Yeah. At the beginning of the overtime, and although the optics it looks good because you're being aggressive and you're getting shots off. Whenever I've seen a team in hockey come out so aggressively in an overtime and just shoot a bunch of pucks at the goalie, they seem to make a mistake that leads to breaks, and that's kind of like what happened at the end. So that's where I honestly think I just think the Panthers kind of like just play their game, bro. Just beat the crap out of them. That's what the Panthers do.
But even then, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're just bullies. But even then, like if Tomas Nosek doesn't, literally, they got aggressive amount of penalty kill, and the other man pay for it. Yeah, literally, it's exactly what happened. But if like Nosek doesn't fling the puck out of the ice, just that terrible mistake, who knows? Like it could have gone into a double second overtime, and the Panthers come out and end up getting that goal. So it's just one bad mistake. And the Oilers made you pay for it.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. So I'll be tuning in tomorrow night, definitely, 8 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But before you tune in tomorrow night, tune into this show. All right, again, as we're having a pregame with a game 1, game 2 analysis of the game as well. And don't forget, guys, it's the Hawkman, Crowder, and Solana show, okay, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. over on WQAM. But you can also listen to it on the Odyssey app. That way you don't miss an episode. You can also rewind, and you can also find clips that you like as well over on Odyssey. That's where I listen to you, man. I listen to you on Odyssey. So just to let you know. All right. So everybody, if you like what you heard, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. Thank you for all those that participated on in the comment section, from Lou to JB, Box and Bill, and my buddy George as well. Have a wonderful evening. God bless. Go Heat, go Dolphins, go Cats. Have a good one, guys. Good night.